Hi there, Martin here, the founder of FutureProof. We're going to go through a relatively techie economics video looking at how we judge whether the improvements from AI, given the job displacement, are efficient for the economy overall. So, title of the video, Efficiency Criteria in the Age of AI Job Displacement. The rapid advancements in artificial intelligence are poised to significantly reshape the global labour market, raising critical questions about AI job displacement and the distribution of economic benefits. Understanding different efficiency criteria becomes paramount for policymakers and economists. Two prominent concepts, Pareto efficiency and Hicks Kaldor efficiency, offer distinct lenses through which to analyse the welfare implications of AI-driven automation. Understanding Pareto efficiency. Perfect optimality. Pareto efficiency describes a state where it is impossible to make one individual better off without making at least one other individual worse off. In other words, we're redistributing resources from one to the other and leaving one person worse off than they were before. So if we've achieved this optimal state, we've got to the best position really, we can't do anything further to make someone better off without making the welfare of someone else decline. Resource allocation. If we're Pareto efficient, then resources are allocated in such a way that there's no room for further welfare improvements through reallocation without incurring a cost elsewhere. In other words, making at least one other individual worse off. Theoretical ideal. This concept represents an economic ideal, a theoretical peak of resource allocation where every possible beneficial exchange has already occurred. Pareto efficiency in AI job displacement. AI automation. This is when AI automates tasks previously performed by humans. We then get job displacement, because the process leads to potential unemployment for some workers. Perfect compensation. Pareto efficiency requires the displaced workers to be made equally or better off than they were before the displacement. Practical challenges. The difficulty in achieving perfect transfer mechanisms makes pure Pareto efficiency rare in real-world economic transformations. Even so, it's useful to have it as a theoretical benchmark. The misconception, Pareto efficiency and the 80-20 rule. Pareto efficiency. As we've seen, this is a state of optimal resource allocation where no one can be made better off without making someone else worse off. So it focuses on the impossibility of making improvements without trade-offs, representing the maximal collective welfare given our existing resources. Something quite different is the 80-20 rule, or the Pareto principle. This is an empirical observation that roughly 80% of effects come from 20% of causes. It describes statistical imbalances in various phenomena. For example, it's quite typical to get 80% of sales from 20% of customers. And it serves as a heuristic or simplification mechanism for prioritising efforts. So while sharing the same namesake, because they came from the same economist, these are distinct concepts. Their association contributes to Pareto efficiency's higher public awareness, even if its practical applicability in dynamic economic shifts like those caused by AI is limited. Introducing Hicks Kaldor efficiency. Net positive change. Under Hicks Kaldor efficiency, a change is efficient if those who gain from it could theoretically compensate those who lose and still be better off. Total gains versus losses. Hicks Kaldor efficiency focuses on whether the total gains outweigh the total losses, allowing for a net positive change in societal welfare even if the distribution is uneven. Theoretical compensation. Actual compensation does not need to take place for a change to be considered Hicks Kaldor efficiency. Practical framework. Hicks Kaldor efficiency provides a more realistic lens through which to view large-scale economic transformations like AI automation. Hicks Kaldor in practice, AI automation scenario. Let's imagine that we have 10,000 jobs automated, when an AI system automates existing positions. 1,000 new jobs are created when highly specialised roles emerge. So looking at these two numbers, obviously the net job loss is 10,000 minus 1,000, so there's a 9,000 job loss. These are the workers potentially facing displacement. On the other hand, we could have millions of consumers benefiting through lower prices and improved services. Perhaps even the AI automation creates services that were not possible before. Under Hicks Kaldor efficiency, if the increased productivity and economic growth generate enough wealth such that the beneficiaries could theoretically compensate displaced workers and still retain a net gain, then the change is considered efficient. Policy implications of Hicks Kaldor efficiency. It's a pragmatic standard. It allows evaluation of changes that generate overall societal gains. Redistribution focus. Using this approach shifts us from preventing all negative impacts to designing effective redistribution. Social safety nets. This concept is relevant to UBI, Universal Basic Income, retraining programs and progressive taxation. In other words, a way for the winners to compensate the losers, not in a pejorative sense, just the people who've lost their jobs, while the winners still remain better off than they were before. Equitable distribution. Using this efficiency concept should ensure that gains are shared and transitions are eased for those facing disruption. Bridging the gap from theory to equitable outcomes. At knowledge efficiency, we should first recognise the Hicks Kaldor efficiency of AI advancements and their potential for significant net economic benefits. Support effective individuals. We need to actively work to compensate and support those affected by AI job displacement. Invest in education. We need proactive investment in education and lifelong learning to equip workers for new roles. Foster inclusive growth. We need to ensure that the economic gains from AI are not concentrated in the hands of a few. Comparing efficiency frameworks. If we look at Pareto efficiency, as a core principle, we need to ensure that no one is left worse off than they were before by an economic change, and we saw that it's quite hard to put this into practice. On the other hand, under Hicks Kaldor efficiency, we're just looking at whether the gains could potentially compensate the losses. So we do allow for people to be made worse off, at least in the first stage, because there should be enough gains to transfer resources so that they are no longer worse off, and the winners are still better off than they were before. Practical application. Although Pareto efficiency is a much more well-known standard, perhaps because it's connected to the same economist who came up with a different 80-20 rule, we saw that it's actually limited in practice in dynamic economies. It's a very theoretical idea. So Hicks Kaldor efficiency is more applicable to real-world changes. Policy implication. Pareto efficiency may halt beneficial innovations because we're not allowed to make anyone worse off. On the other hand, Hicks Kaldor efficiency encourages innovation with redistribution. AI context. If we want to have Pareto efficiency, this is going to be rarely achievable with AI disruption because somebody will be left worse off. On the other hand, Hicks Kaldor efficiency provides a framework for managing AI transitions. Overall, as we said, Pareto efficiency is well known, Hicks Kaldor efficiency is less well known, but in our view, much more relevant to AI scenarios. Navigating the future of work. We need to embrace AI innovation and continue technological advancements. But we also need to design robust policies to create mechanisms to share the benefits. We can then ensure inclusive prosperity. We can move towards Pareto-like outcomes where the economy is operating more efficiently, but we're actually using the Hicks Kaldor approach while we get there. Both efficiency frameworks offer valuable perspectives for analysing AI and job displacement. While Pareto efficiency serves as an ideal benchmark, Hicks Kaldor provides a practical tool for evaluating AI's transformative impact. The challenge for societies is to harness the Hicks Kaldor gains of AI while actively pursuing policies that nudge outcomes closer to the Pareto ideal, ensuring that the benefits of technological progress are broadly shared and that those displaced are not left behind. That's it for this video. Hope it got you thinking. Don't forget to check out our other videos and blog articles on this topic and many others.